Maine Knows How. Brought to you by A&G Shooting, Modern Woodmen of America, Mainly Handrails, Pine Grove Programs, Digital Spirit Media, and J.W. Parks Golf Course. Maine Knows How.
Welcome back to the February edition of Maine Knows How. I'm surrounded here by Bob Howe, and as everybody knows, Bob, how are you doing?
Very good. Very good.
Life's good?
Life is always good.
It is.
It is. Yeah. We enjoy life and enjoy all the folks that we get a chance to meet. And, it's just nice being around.
Yeah, nice. Beats the alternative for right now.
It's okay. We're going home, so it's okay.
We're all going home.
Yeah.
And Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Everybody may remember Jeff Luskowski.
Not quite.
You're close. You're close, but that's good.
Not quite.
I tried. Go ahead. Fix me.
Liskowski.
Luskowski. who filled in for Wyatt. So he did such a good job. We brought him back. Didn't pay him anymore, but we brought him back for a second show.
Pays the same as the first.
Yeah, it pays the same as the first.
So how are things going for you?
Good.
Good, yeah.
Very good.
Out there guiding or doing
A
anything?
little bit of guiding. It's waiting for the weather and a little bit of weather, and
Yep.
hopefully get some rabbit hunters and some cat hunters coming.
Mm. Yeah, the rabbit are a big deal.
They are a big deal.
And Bob, you used to tell me, you told me a story once about the rabbit and how often they reproduce and how they're so unusual.
They are an unusual animal. You know, they're McDonald's of the woods. Everybody eats a rabbit. Everybody. And, you know, they have little rabbits every 33 days from April, May, June, July, August. Female rabbit is bred. She has 2 uteruses. She's been bred, and she's already bred for the next breeding. And they have anywhere from 3 to 6 fully haired little rabbits. They don't have a nest. They just make a little nest on the ground, but they don't have it like a cottontail has a nest they go and stay in, and they're born naked. These are born fully haired. She nurses them about a week, 10 days, and then she leaves and doesn't come back.
Wow.
They're on their own. So they're vulnerable by everything. Even red squirrels will eat them. Ravens, crows. Everybody eats them rabbits. So they got to hide well, or they won't be around long. And that rabbit has to live a whole year. The average lifespan for a rabbit is less than a year.
Wow.
They got to live a whole year before they can be bred. So you need a bunch of rabbits to feed all them foxes, coyotes, fishes, bobcats, Canadian lynxes, all that. So, you know, they're pretty important to all the other animals in the woods.
Yep.
Yep. So we should protect our rabbit covers. And, you know, there's nice private landowners will take some pallets and stack them up and put a big pile of brush over them so that they can get in there without having predators.
Predators get in there.
Yep. Yep. So, and I made a living hunting rabbits.
Yep.
And I've taken thousands of rabbit hunters over the years.
And these rabbits are a
Snowshoe
little snowshoe hare, a little bit different than the little bunny rabbits you see in suburbia in the front yard eating the grass.
Absolutely. These guys can run about 20 miles an hour and jump 15 to 12 feet one jump.
Wow.
And they can haul when they want to. And, you know, they'll leave a bunch of hunters standing by the side of the road while the dog is gone a mile away. What the heck do we do now? So you can either go over there or you can wait till he comes back. That means put your snowshoes on and start walking.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
It's ice fishing season.
it is.
We got the Derby coming up in a couple weeks,
Wyman Lake Derby, yep.
which will be a
15th.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good time.
Yep. It's one of our big fundraisers. Fundraising in the winter months is kind of a little lean, so it's always good timing for that. We have the lobster bake, and we have
golf event,
the golf event in the summer,
Sportsman's Challenge,
and the Sportsman's Challenge, which is great.
Yeah.
But this is really our winter fundraiser, and it really does get us through the spring. So
It does. You know, we take so many people. It costs a lot to do this. And even though nobody gets paid, you still expenses.
Yep.
Just the way it is. And we do a lot of them for nothing on our own dimes.
right.
Because you just can't raise enough money.
No,
So we do it ourselves. And
It's a wonderful thing to get a group of, veterans, first responders, law enforcement. They're different. They're different than the rest of the population. There's the one analogy between you're a wolf, you're a sheepdog, or you're a sheep. And there's nothing wrong with being a sheep. That's most people, and they just want to go to work. They want to do their job. They want to have comfortable life. But the sheepdogs are a little bit different breed, and that's what we tend to cater to. Who we tend to cater to.
Well, you can see a difference in them.
Yeah.
Like me not being in the military and somebody being here that is in the that's been in the military. Our conversation's different than the two people that are in the military that have
Right.
seen the same thing. And it's kind of, they bond together.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing to watch them.
Yeah.
There's guys that wouldn't talk to anybody until they got here and they met somebody that went through the same thing they went through.
Yeah.
They talk back and forth, and then they become good friends. And we've had people here that were dropped off by their wives, and a guy that was here said, "Don't have your wife come back and get you. I'll take you home."
Right. Yeah. No, it's a great dynamic that happens here, and it's really a wonderful program. And if you have any questions, again, pinegroveprograms.org, reach out to us. But as we set things up for what we have a great guest today,
world class.
world class Randy Flannery,
He is.
and Bob, you've known him for a few years.
A long time, a lifetime. And he's a great friend.
Yeah.
And he's a great person to know. And we will have an opportunity to have him come on this podcast and share some of his knowledge. And you all will gain from it. He's a great hunter.
Absolutely. So
Good person.
we'll be back in a few minutes with Randy, and he'll regale us with his knowledge. So see you in a few minutes.
Maine Knows How is brought to you by J.W. Parks Golf Course in Pittsfield, a 9-hole facility with a full-service pro shop and driving range offering daily fee golf and membership opportunities. And by A&G Shooting, a brick-and-mortar gun shop offering firearms training and 100% customer satisfaction. And by Digital Spirit Media, providing over 30 years of technical expertise in media production and event production services.
Welcome back to Maine Knows How. As we mentioned at the outset, we have Randy Flannery here today from Wilderness Escape in Danforth, Maine. But Randy's more special than that. He's more than just a guide, and he's actually been a director on Pine Grove Program Board for several years.
Great honor.
Yeah, and
Great honor.
just really appreciate the years you put in for that. It was really really important for me personally. Having you on there when I came on board was a great. It was great to have you there, and your knowledge of just the outdoors, and to confirm that Bob really isn't full of it. That some of this stuff really is the truth.
Yeah, most of it is.
Yeah.
I've known Randy for a long time.
Yep.
And we're really brothers in the same feel. And whatever he needs, day or night, we'll be there.
Absolutely. And right back at him.
No.
And as far as Bob really is the real deal, I tell people all the time, you can ask his son Heath, because he guides for me. Bob, and I've said this in magazines, Bob is the best all-around guide I know, without question. There's guys that are special in one thing or two things. Bob is the very best all-around guide. I'm talking fishing, hunting, river fishing, big game, small game that I know.
Right. And you know, Bob, this is not, you know, a segment about praising Bob Howe, but
No.
we'll throw it on here, okay? But you know, the one thing I've observed is Bob continues to evolve.
Yeah.
And he has started with the wilderness safaris and in other things, just going out there and learning about nature, your knowledge of nature and the different functions that the different trees play in the in the ecosystem and just how important all of them are together. But to go out in the middle of summer and see a moose is not necessarily an easy feat.
No.
Sometimes. And we have some new things coming out.
Huh?
New that nobody has ever done before.
Stand by.
And Wyatt is sort of bringing that up.
Yep.
And he's going to be running this operation someday.
Yep.
And we hope sooner than later. And he has new ideas that he wants to do.
does.
And that's what you need. You need to find niches. You can't get in line with everybody else. You got to find your own niche.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, there's
Absolutely.
a lot of people doing the same thing,
Right.
so they can go anywhere.
Yeah.
If you don't find something new, you're going to go by the wayside.
Right.
But always keep in mind, when it comes to guiding, my grandfather taught me everything I know. He always said, when it comes to guiding, you can't fake it till you make it.
Exactly right.
You may be able to fake it in a lot of other professions. You're not doing it guiding.
I tell Wyatt all the time, the guide don't show up until the game don't.
That's right.
When the fish are biting,
Who
make a
needs a
difference.
guide? Why am I paying him?
It's true. It's true.
And I also tell my guides, don't think because you're the one with the guide patch on your arm, you know more than the people you're guiding. Because a lot of these people have hunted all over the world. And they got a lot of experience.
Get a lot of good woodsmen.
Yep. Yep. So, Randy, I mentioned that you are the proprietor, you and your wife, as you would
Well, she
correct
is. She
me.
just let me live there.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Wilderness Escape in Danforth.
Yep.
Why don't you just tell us a little bit about the operation you have going up there and what your cycle looks like, and please let us know about your speaking tours that you go on.
Sure. We live on Upper Hot Brook Lake on the Washington and Aroostook County line, just west of Danforth. We have a mile of lake frontage. We have a square mile of land. We're remote. Our driveway's a mile long. And didn't I know it this morning driving out here? But we pretty much do, bear, deer, moose, bobcat, snowshoe hare, of course, grouse and woodcock, when we can. And then again, I'm gone all winter on the snowmobile. I mean, on the seminar circuit and sportsman show. So, all winter long, I'm on the road.
Now, when you go on the circuit, the speaking circuit, is that with who sponsors you to do that, or?
I work for Bonnier Corp., who owns Field and Stream and Outdoor Life, and I work for the NRA. So them are the people that I work for the most.
Right.
I do some private seminars when my schedule allows, but my schedule's pretty tough. Last year, I was in 37 states in 5 months.
Wow.
I was as far north as Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I was as far south as Natchez, Mississippi, and as far west as Dallas at the NRA National Convention, which I was asked to speak, which is a great honor.
Yeah.
So we're on the road for 5+ months.
What are the topics that you address?
Mostly tracking and stalking whitetails, which is my forte.
And that translates from fishing up, tracking up in Maine to tracking down in the South. And
Yeah, any big woods situation. If you don't, you can track on bare ground if the ground is soft. My grandfather always said, when the ground is soft from sun, rain, or snow, track because you can see a track. If not, cross-cut the wind and stalk. So that's pretty much what we do. If we're not tracking, we're stalking, and we pretty much never had the wind in our face either, which is an old wives' tale. So you can do these things wherever you have enough woods where you can get away from everybody, what we call the land of the posted signs. You know, when you can get away from the land of the posted signs, you know, you can hunt the way we do. And I've tracked in Texas, got when I was guiding in Texas. You know, you can track when there's no snow if you know what to look for. I also do seminars on wilderness navigation and survival, which is a dying, like tracking and stalking. It's something that isn't being handed down, passed on down to the family, like they always have been.
I mean, just reading a map and the contour lines and understanding what the contour lines mean, and then using a compass and comparing it and being able to see it from here and see it in visually can save your life.
And the compass don't lie. Matter of fact, if you go on Brunton Compass's website, it says Field and Streams Randy Flannery says he never enters the woods without at least 3 Brunton compasses. Well, I've never owned a Brunton compass. I reckon they ought to be sending me royalty checks. but it goes on to say, Flannery says that the GPS runs off of satellites and batteries that are man-made. The compass runs off the gravitational pull of the earth, which is God-made. Which would you rather trust? Right. I'll stick with the compass and go with God. That's how I look at it.
No, and it's also true. I mean, folks can become so over-reliant on GPS.
No question.
That if for some reason it's interrupted or it's broken or the battery, God forbid, wears out, you have no idea where you are, what you're doing.
Or if you're hunting, especially deer hunting, where the big bucks are. Because when people used to ask my grandfather, who taught me everything I know, how do you keep finding these big bucks? Gramp would say, the thicker, the quicker, the wetter, the better. That's where the big bucks are, where it's green and where it's wet. And if you're in them areas, you're not going to get a reading on GPS. The canopy's too tight. So, you know, it's there's a lot to it.
No, my dog has a dog collar with the GPS, and in the summer, I don't know why we even bother with it, because Max can go anywhere, and it's not until he goes into a field that I'm going to find him again.
Right, that's exactly right. Yep.
That's crazy.
You know, a lot of our hunters come, and you'll have 20 people here deer hunting, and I'll say, how are you going to plan on navigating this week? Oh, I got a GPS. I said, well, do you know how to use it? Well, I have never taken it out of the box yet. That's what I get.
Oh.
I said, have you put batteries in it? The wife gave it to me for Christmas. And it's still in the box. Can you help me with this thing?
That's Bob. You're a technical guru.
No, why?
That's why we have a young guy.
I said, why don't you get me? Why don't you get the compass and I can help you with that?
That's right.
So, and if I don't trust him, I'll put a dog collar in his game pouch, let the antenna stick out so I know where he is. Because at the end of the day, my job as a guide is to send him home.
Right.
I don't care if he gets a deer or not. That's up to him. I can't control that.
There's a few I'd like to put a shock collar on.
And they
We could all write a book on that.
Yeah, they go astray on you sometimes. Sometimes it gets dark and help.
Well, I'll tell you what's missing today. Because technology makes people dumber. Trail cameras and GPSs and all that stuff makes people lazy. The old way of teaching someone how to use a map and compass is get them lost on purpose. When I was 8 or 10 years old, probably 10 or 12 years old, up on the shore of East Kennebago Lake, my grandfather took me bird hunting and he hit on me. He got me lost on purpose and he hit on me and he let me cry for a good 20 minutes, half hour. And then he taught me how to use a map and compass. That's the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, get your attention.
To get your attention, to get them good and scared. And he made me promise him that I would do the same thing with my kids. Because he said, until they feel that sense of hopelessness and helplessness, they're never going to adhere to the compass like they should. It is so true. Of course, I was so young, I had to ask him what adhere meant. You know what I mean? But that's the old-fashioned way of teaching someone how to use a map and compass. Get them good and lost.
Years ago, when they were putting on these guide schools, they used to leave one road and take a direction to the vehicle on the other side. And if you missed it, you had to redo it again. Now they just use GPS.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
they
now they
gave
do
up
it.
that.
Now they do it on a table. You
Right.
throw
You
your
used to
compass,
bring 'em
your
at
map
night,
on there,
put
and
'em
you
on a
mess
road
with
and
it.
say, you got to go straight
Oh, yeah.
across here, come out to this pin.
No, I mean, when I was doing some land navigation in the Marine Corps,
Right.
learning how to do it,
Yeah.
they would blindfold us, put us in the back of a truck,
There you
drop
go.
us in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
We had to figure out where we were from what we could see and looking at the map. And then we had 10 boxes in the middle of the woods that we had to find. And if
Yeah.
you got to the first one, it would have a certain number sequence, and there'd be another box 20 feet to the right
Yeah.
with a different number sequence. And if you got the first box wrong, you would get all of the other 9 wrong too.
Wow.
But I will tell you, that was the first time in my life I was ever in the woods by myself for more than an hour. I mean, we're talking, that was a full day, 12 hours. You're out there doing it. And to be in the woods by yourself for that long can scare the living daylights out of you. I mean,
Tim,
how do
I've
I
had
know
hunters
where
go
I am?
home.
I've
Fear
never
of the
been here
unknown.
before.
Fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had my map and I had my compass. You know, they didn't trust me with a gun yet.
Not yet.
Well, you know, there's a thing called the essentials that were once taught to every family living remote in America that have all been passed and all been forgotten. And they are what you should never enter the woods without. And they'll save your life. And the essentials are, number one, 3 compasses. Why 3 compasses? By the way, this is the first thing I put on every morning of my life. Why 3 compasses? Because if you carry 2 compasses and one breaks, which one's right? By carrying 3, you always have 2 to compare. 3 fire starters, be it flint and steel, wooden matches soaked in paraffin wax, or a windproof, waterproof lighter. You should always have 3 fire starters. A good knife, a good flashlight, extra batteries, a topo map of the area you're going into. Those are the essentials you should never enter the woods without, no matter what you're doing. We have a farm down in North Carolina. If we're going horseback riding, it's bordered on 2 sides by thousands of acres of North Carolina state forest land. If we're going horseback riding or hiking, I got the essentials with me. Besides a handgun.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know, the essentials will save your life. And that's stuff like orienteering, basically what you were doing, finding them boxes, and map and compass skills, land navigation. That's all stuff, unfortunately, that has been put aside because of technology.
Yep.
And I don't care, him and I have had this conversation many times, and I've had it. I do seminars at least anywhere from a dozen to 15, 18 shows a year. I've talked to many, many guides. You talk to guides, and they will tell you that guides that rely on GPSs are nowhere near the woodsmen that the guys are that don't. Nowhere near it.
No, I have a little saying. I shared it a few minutes ago that technology is the enemy of critical thinking.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to steal that if you don't mind.
It's not trademarked. You can use it, and anybody out there, you can use it too. And it's not that I'm a Luddite that I don't believe in technology. Technology is amazing. It does wonderful things
No question.
and everything. But, you know, I think we're losing our common sense with a lot of things
No
too.
question.
And we just don't know the basics. And when you don't have the basics, you can't, you know, just adding and subtracting. You know, we don't do that anymore, right?
No.
And that's
At our age, none of us had those electronics. Really think about it.
no, we never had
The
it.
electronic age has only been the last 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
We never had electronics. We never relied on electronics.
Right.
Well, we're what they would call analog.
Yeah.
And so
That's fine with
the
me.
generations that are living now, we have analogs, which is our generation, and then you have the younger generation, and they're digital. And then you have a group in between that's kind of spanning the chasm between the two and has a little bit of knowledge of each. And that's really kind of us. I mean, we do have some technology knowledge. But
Very little. I mean, if I need something done, I got to call my grandson. My daughter was here over the weekend, and my wife got me a new tablet so I could do my stuff with my hunting stuff on it. And I said to my daughter, I can't even get in this thing. I can't save pictures on it. What do I do? So she took it and messed with it, and she goes, here, now you're good to go.
it's all right. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying?
Even
though? I mean,
even with business,
Yeah.
I don't let my guides, much to their chagrin sometimes, but I do not let my guides put out trail cameras until they've been in the woods for at least 5 weeks. I want them to
Wow.
use this.
Right.
Yeah.
I want them to
Right.
know what's out there long before they put them cameras up.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is very important.
So what does out at Wilderness Escape,
Mm-hmm.
Danforth, which is go up 95 north, hit Lincoln, and bang a right.
Bang a right and head northeast from there.
Yep. And
Head for East Grand Lake.
and I'll tell you, it's wilderness.
It is.
Yeah, and it's beautiful country up there.
It really is.
What does your typical season? So you're going to be gone mid-January through May on the lecture speaking tour.
I get home. I usually get home around mid-May. We usually start with customers the week before Memorial Weekend,
Okay.
and then we're busy right up until the end of deer season.
So what starts in May?
Fishing.
Okay.
You
So
know,
you're fishing, hitting the lake.
Yeah, and not just our lake, but a dozen more in the area, and streams and rivers, and we have a lot of family vacationers that come as well.
Right.
And then we go right into, the summer's a busy time because we start in the woods working on bear bait sites in June. So
Bob, does that sound familiar?
so we got
all easy.
we got guides, guiding fishermen, and we got guides working in the woods on bear bait sites. And I also tell them, you're not just working on bear bait sites, you're scouting while you're out there, while you're riding them roads. You're always scouting for bird covers, for rabbit covers, for moose, for deer, bobcat crossings, whatever. You're always scouting.
Yep.
So we're busy right up until bear season starts the last Monday in August, and then we go from there to moose and birds and deer.
Yep.
You know,
The bear is a huge attraction.
it is. It is. I'm a deer hunter by trade, just like Bob.
Yep.
We do everything else because it's part of the business. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I love it. I love guiding moose hunters. It's like turkey hunting on steroids.
it's true.
It's true. And, but the bear is a big attraction. It's you got to get used to, as a guide, especially a bear guide, sleep deprivation, because you don't get much sleep. You're out till early morning tracking wounded bears in the dark all night, and then you got to start right back up. So you don't.
Yeah, you got to.
During bear season, if you get 3 hours sleep, you're pretty.
We
pretty
do it. It's
I know, Jeff, you're out there all the time.
what we do. It's part of our life.
Yep.
People don't understand what it's like to track a bear at night.
No, they don't.
know,
They have no
Completely.
clue.
The leaves are they're full.
Yes.
You take one step and you disappear.
You got a hole about this big that you're sticking your head in.
He's trying to.
Or crawling on your hands and knees.
On your hands and knees. You're crawling on your hands and knees, and you either have a light on your hat. Me, I carry one in my hand, and I carry my handgun in my other hand, because
Me too.
there's nothing like crawling into one of them little holes and having this thing looking at you.
I got run over by one.
I've never been run over, but
called
I've
it
come
off.
close.
After 3 times, the bear ran by us. I said, that's it. We were filming this. I said, somebody's going to get hurt here.
Yeah.
We come back in the morning and found him dead. But it really races your blood
Yeah,
pressure
it
up.
does. It
Yeah.
may it
does.
to me it's an adrenaline rush. It's like Bob and I tracked a bear one night that somebody had shot with a bow. We had no idea what we were going into.
That's right.
No
That's
idea.
exactly right.
And then we started climbing in these boulders and stuff. And after about 3 hours, Bob says, I think we ought to come back tomorrow, which is a good idea because you climb over one of them boulders and this thing's sitting there waiting for you. He's waiting for you now.
That's right.
He's not shying away from you. He's looking for you. Somebody's just
Hurt him.
really irritated him.
Yeah.
I could use some other language, but I won't. And you're going into this black abyss, not knowing what's waiting for you on that side. And it's an adrenaline rush. We had a young fellow that wanted to be a guide one time, and I had a bear that was down. The guy shot and went into a hole, and I said to one of the other guys, I said, send that kid down here with me. I want to show him what bear hunting's about. We started crawling, and he looked at me and he goes, you're crazy. And he left it. He never come back. He was done. He didn't want to be a guide no more.
Wow.
He didn't want nothing to do with it. I said, carrying the bait's the easy part. Putting the guys out's the easy part. This is when the work starts.
Sometimes you just hear their feet hit the ground when you get close to them, and you don't know if they're coming at you or going away from you.
Or you hear that heavy breathing, and it's like,
I would think.
Yep.
So anyway,
what's the next step?
My grandfather always said, you'll never feel more alive in your life than when you're tracking a wounded bear in the dark.
It's true.
It is,
until they experience, they don't know what they're talking about.
And I know several guides. I know of several outfitters that friends of mine who've had guides work for them, bear guiding for 3 or 4 years, and then walk in on their first bear when they were baiting and come back to the lodge and quit on the spot and never guide again.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be with me because I walk in on a lot of them.
Oh, me too.
I walk in on a lot of them. The barrel will be moving when I get there. Or you'll pull, after you have your
Don't you
cameras
go,
out a while, you'll pull your picture up.
to announce your presence
No,
or
you
anything?
I don't do anything. I walk in. They know that they're used to us being there. They know we're taking care of them.
Yeah.
So they'll go off and they'll go 30 yards and they'll sit there and they'll wait till we're done. And when we leave, they'll come back.
Most of them.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Unless you get a sow with cubs.
Right.
Then you're in another story.
Right.
That's
I'll
a
tell you
whole
what,
different
though,
world.
that's true, but I've always been told, and I believe it to be true, the most dangerous bear in the woods is an adolescent male.
Exactly right.
Oh yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid that has no fear.
No,
He's fast as
He's
lightning.
fast as lightning.
Just like people.
Yeah.
he hasn't been slapped around. He just
And even if he has, he knows he can take it.
yeah.
You know what I
True.
mean? So, there's no doubt. I walked in on a bear one time, and he reached down in the sod and threw sod at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, you never know.
I had one chase. I was carrying the bucket, and I got there, and he had 2 sows, and she come right after me, and I laid the bucket down and backed up. She knocked that bucket around. She didn't see me again. I came back tomorrow. I never found that bucket.
Really?
Never
The
found
bucket
it.
was gone.
The bucket was gone.
Yeah.
So weren't I.
I hit a bucket one
I don't
time.
have to make that one today.
I kept walking in on my bait bucket and it wasn't being hit. So the one time I said, instead of carrying this bait bucket every day, I'm going to leave it here. So I stuck it behind a tree. I come back the next day, check my bait. Bucket was gone. Never found it. Walked all over the woods looking for that bait bucket. Never found it.
Well, you know what they're doing is, and I've seen this on Yogi Berra
There we go.
commercials,
were
cartoons.
going
there.
They carry the bucket and they put their berries in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, when they take a 55-gallon drum and you can't find it.
Right.
We had that happen.
Had
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Oh yeah.
Neat stuff.
How do they move that? Do they just grab it?
Grab it.
I had a bear
Back it.
I was playing cat and mouse with it, stacking all kinds of logs and rocks from a brook on top of the logs. And the bear and I was going back and forth every other day with this bear, and he was throwing the logs, throwing the rocks. Finally, I kept on adding more and more and more. It was in between a beech tree and a beech stump that I'd have a hard time pulling out of the ground with my skid steer. After about 4 or 5 times doing this with this bear, I came in there and he had ripped the stump right out of the ground. And I'd have a hard time doing it with my skid steer. He ripped the stump, a hardwood beech stump, ripped it right out of the ground.
Which raises the question, why are you messing around 4 or 5 days with a bear in the woods?
Well, people have been questioning my intelligence for a long time.
It's a rush.
It's a rush. Oh yeah.
They have this thing. It's called AI now. You can ask a question. It will give you an answer.
Oh yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Oh,
So
yeah.
you're just having fun with it.
Just
playing
having
with
fun. Yeah.
it. And
Yeah. And it was you know how heavy yellow birch logs are.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
These were like this, 6 feet long. He was just tossing them clear down to this brook, which was probably from here to the kitchen door away. You know, probably 20, 25 yards. He was just flipping them logs like it was nothing. Oh yeah.
They're quite an animal.
Oh, they're unbelievable.
The more you hunt them, the more you appreciate them.
They're very
Their
intelligent.
ability and their agility. They can climb a tree in 2 seconds, come down in 1.
And
He can outrun a Kentucky Derby racehorse. Don't bother running. You're going to die tired.
From
He
me,
wants
from me to you, Tim, from a dead stop, from me to you, a bear's going 35 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, instant speed,
highly intelligent.
instant speed.
Fortunately, their primary diet is not humans.
Good thing.
It's a good thing.
It's good. We'd be coming back with a lot less hunters.
That's right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you get done bear season, and then you're right into
Moose.
into moose. That's right.
Yeah,
In,
and
in
then
October, and then
and birds and deer.
Yep. And that's how's the moose population in your
Good.
area?
Good.
So it's generally people that will pull a permit in your area that are coming to stay at
Yep.
the lodge, or
Yep.
do you travel all over the state with them?
I try to hunt like 5 zones in our area,
Right.
but I would come down here just to hang out with these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, I used to travel all over. You know, I kind of like I travel so much now. I kind of like sticking around. You know.
Yeah. Being at home is okay.
Well, it's got
Yeah.
so expensive to do a hunt outside of your
Yeah, it's
zone.
not
To
like-
go to go up north, for us to go up north to do a hunt, our cost becomes astronomical.
You know, you wouldn't make any
You
money.
wouldn't make any money.
You wouldn't make any money.
You know, I had the opportunity this year to go to Zone 3, and I turned it down because I'd have to find a place to stay. I had to find a place to eat. You got to pay for gas.
Yep.
You know, and it gets expensive in a hurry.
Well, even next door. So we live in Zone 11. Zone 6 is 50 miles from us. All right. So we guide in Zone 6. We guide in Zone 19, which is a half hour from us, and 18 and whatnot. But just for us to go up to Route 6, my grandfather always said, for every week of guiding, you must put in at least 2 weeks of scouting. So with that said, if I'm going to guide somebody moose hunting in Zone 6, I got 50 miles just to get to the zone.
Exactly.
All right. So you take 2 weeks of that, and you say it's $75 per truck. You know, for a tank of gas.
Right.
You're doing that for 12, 14 days.
Yep.
And then again, you got to find you got to find places to eat. You got to find whatever. You know, it's a, you know, now we can stay at our place and still hunt Zone 6, but people got to know that you're driving an hour before you're getting
Before
even
you
into
even
the
get
zone.
started.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very costly.
Yeah. The days are still pretty long too.
Well, the problem with moose hunting is, number one, is the moose hunters arrive on Sunday afternoon when the bear hunters have left Sunday morning. So there's no rest. You go from bear hunting to moose hunting. So if you're hunting, now you got to scout and you locate these bulls, you want to go there and you want to be there at least an hour before sunup. So you're eating breakfast at 2:30, driving to where you need to be, walking in because you got to hide the truck. That's why don't ever let anybody talk you into bringing their family on a moose hunt.
Exactly
I
right.
tell them right out, you want to kill a big bull? You and your friend, period. Okay? Or just you. You don't want, the more people, the more noise, So, by the time you get in there, you're starting, you're up at 2, eating breakfast at 2:30. And if you're hunting till it's still light at 7:30 at night that time of year, so, and then you got a 2-hour drive back.
Yep.
You're home at 9:30. You eat as soon as you get back. You sleep fast because you got to get up again at 2.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
It's not an easy job.
No,
It's not for everybody.
no.
No.
No, and then you got that midday trying to find something to do. It's tough to locate moose a lot of times during the middle of the day, unless you can get somebody that can go in back in. A lot of times they got hunters that
Not only
Going-
can't, won't.
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Not only can't, won't. Yeah.
But I get a lot of hunters that can't go 30 yards off the road and they're done.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a tough day.
Yeah, my daughter drew a permit last year, and she and the family, they have 2 kids and her husband, all hunters, and Bob knows them all quite well. They're all avid outdoors people,
That's awesome.
Very
and
nice.
but they went on their first moose hunt, and they figured they'd get up there Sunday, Monday or Tuesday, they'd be back Tuesday or Wednesday. They were hunting hard all week until Saturday.
Was it October?
It was.
Which this past October was the worst moose hunting conditions I've ever
The warmth.
in. Not only that, in my 40-year guiding career, it was the worst conditions. Number one, we started out with things against us because there was 2 weeks in between the seasons, so the rut was all but over.
Yes.
Instead of having 1 week between the seasons, which I believe they ought to push it back a week anyways. So, so we had 2 weeks in between, so the rut was over. It poured rain on Monday. It poured rain on Tuesday. It sleeted and the wind, and it was blowing all 3 days,
Yep.
right? The weather conditions were terrible. Nothing was coming to the call because the rut was over.
Right.
We ended up walking cuts, me and Heath, pushing moose to our hunters. It was just, it was brutal.
It was.
It was brutal.
We were fortunate that we were still able to call them, but Monday was horrible. It rained and it poured. Tuesday we had the winds come in and finally cleared up, but we were able to call our moose in. But we were lucky
Very lucky.
being that late.
I called in a couple, but nothing we wanted to shoot. Of course, by the end of the week, by the end of the week, when it was 75 degrees,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay, we would have shot anything at that
Exactly.
point. You know what I mean? And we did. Our hunters, they missed a couple. I can tell you that much.
Happens a lot.
That happens
yeah.
all the time.
Wyatt called in 4th.
Awesome.
First time he ever did it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And he's hooked now.
That's awesome. Another thing I'm adamant about when it comes to big game hunting, your gun must shoot at least a 170 grain bullet if you want to hunt with us. If it does not shoot at least a 170 grain bullet, you can go hunt with somebody else.
Yep.
We owe it to the animal.
Absolutely.
We absolutely owe it to the animal, and it makes a huge difference.
Yep.
It makes a huge difference.
No, and that's they're some of the biggest stories I've ever heard from Bob and from my son-in-law and whatnot. That when you shoot a deer and it's on the move, and the sun is going down, you call all your friends, and sometimes you're out there, and you have to call it off because it's just too dark. It's 10 o'clock at night.
Well, and most people don't have the ability to shoot fast. They practice off a bench. They don't, they don't have the ability to shoot fast. And it's very, very, very important. My grandfather had 5 basic principles of being a good deer hunter. And I heard it so much, Tim, I could hear it in my sleep.
Regale us.
And what they are is, number one, be familiar with your map and compass so there's no fear of getting lost.
Yep.
Number 2, learn how to pre-qualify the woods before you ever go into them, so you're not hunting in an area where there's no big bucks to begin with. Number 3 is learn how to walk in the woods under all conditions, so you can walk up close enough to a deer to get a shot at him and not jump him at 250 to 300 yards like everybody else and never even hear him, never mind see him. Number 4 is learn how to react to that buck when you jump him, whether he sees you first or not, so you can put yourself in a position to get a shot at him, if not immediately within the next half hour to an hour. And number 5 is learn how to shoot fast and with rapid fire and hit what you aim at. And if you master those principles, you'll be knocking down big bucks on a regular basis.
You know, that's, I would assume that if you're tracking, you're walking, and so you're really not, I mean, you're in the standing position when you're shooting, which is not the most stable.
I shoot better when I'm on the move. And Andy's pointing to me to, I'll show you how, this is what my family's hunted with for 6 generations. Okay? It's 33.5 inches long. This happens to be a 30-30. I have them in 7 different calibers. Now, I have a callus on my finger right there.
You
All right.
do.
Now, now, growing up into a family of trackers and stalkers, we were always taught that you need to learn how to shoot fast. Now, most people carry these things like this. I was taught to carry it like this. Now, when I'm going hunting, the first thing I do, or whenever I'm going shooting, whether I'm bird hunting or deer hunting or whatever, I put the end, this is my grandfather, you put the end of the barrel on 25 trees. So you step into it, just like hitting a baseball. You never close one eye, you put the end of the barrel on 25 trees, and what happens is you're creating muscle memory. And the reason why we hold a gun like this, all right, so after you do that, you're creating muscle memory. So when that deer goes up in front of you, or that bird flies up in front of you, before you even realize it, you're on it, okay? So, and my grandfather used to say, when your hand goes flat, you send the first round. So when that deer goes up in front of you, every time you crack that lever, you're sending a round. Every time. And that's just how we shoot. And like when my grandfather cut loose with his 38-55, same gun, but with a 255 grain bullet, it literally sounded like this. All 5. All 5. Having the ability to shoot fast and with rapid fire, there's so many deer I would have never shot. There's so many birds or rabbits I would have never shot in my life. And everybody practices shooting that perfect shot. And that's okay if you're a sniper. I'm not a sniper.
Right.
You know, we got the greatest military on earth, thank God. Thank God. What do our snipers use? They use bolt-action scope rifles because they're the perfect weapon to use when you have the time to take that perfect shot.
Right.
What do our combat troops use? They use short, light, fast guns with iron sights that put a lot of lead in the air and hurry.
Yep.
Same principle. If your feet are on the ground, you're on the move, you want a carbine with iron sights. I ignore the rear sight. I don't even look at the rear sight. I concentrate on the front blade, and that's how they teach you in the military.
Yep.
Same concept. My advice to people, if you're going to track and stalk or hunt with your feet on the ground, take the scope off your gun and leave it in the truck. And get yourself a pump or a lever action, fast shooting carbine. Because that's reality.
And you're not talking new technology there.
1854.
1854.
Yep. There's no strap on there.
No.
A strap is a deer misser.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you put it on your shoulder,
yeah.
it's a deer misser. Because you ain't getting that off in time.
Yeah.
And you have to learn to walk in the woods. Do your homework. We can't do it for you as a guide. You have to learn to walk.
Well, you guys have both said that. So, you know,
have to learn to carry that gun.
Just don't tell us, you know, that you have to learn how to walk. What do you mean by that?
Well, there's all different kinds of environments in the woods, from ridges to swamps to roots to rocks. And you have to look ahead and pick 3 steps and know where your feet are going to hit the ground before they're there. And there's no deer under that stump. He's up here.
And
So
sound like a deer.
You got to walk like an animal.
My grandfather always said 4 steps, 3 steps, 2 steps, level. will not fail you. And what he meant by that is you got to adapt to the conditions that the good Lord give you. So when it's quiet, try to be quiet, okay? When it's not quiet, don't try to be quiet, because all you do is sound like a man trying to be quiet. And the deer hear that, and they're gone. So I'm right-handed, so I always start with my left. So when it's quiet, I'm trying to be quiet. So I walk heel-toe, and I roll my foot. I got my gun up, ready to shoot, and I walk 1, 2, 3. This would be level. Now I stop like this so I could swing to check my back trail, and I could swing to shoot. And if you think you might be going too fast, you're going too fast. Every fourth or fifth time you stop, drop to one knee and scan the woods. Get down to their level. The whole world is different at 3 feet. And you're looking for a piece of a deer. You're looking for the white throat patch, the white around their eye, a flicker of an ear or a tail, a horizontal line in the woods, which is their back, a leg, a horn. Look for a piece. Don't look for the whole deer. And when it's noisy, like you're walking on cornflakes, okay? Remember, deer have 4 legs. We have 2. Shorten your steps, bury your toes, and go 3 steps level. Again, you got your gun up, you're ready to shoot. This is what you want to sound like. Now think about that in the woods and the leaves. You want to take short, quick steps. And every fourth or fifth time, drop to one knee and scan the woods, because then if you sound like a deer, they'll hold. You want to always sound, and that's very important. And on frost-covered moss and crusty snow, you want to go 2 steps level, because your weight is your enemy, because when you step, you fall through the crust. So you want to take 2 steps. Now the crust is still under your feet. So when you shift your weight, you fall through it. You always want to sound, and when you do that, you sound like a deer, and they won't take off 300 yards ahead of you. We take pictures of deer that we pass on with our phone all the time, because we walked up on them. You know, me, Dick Bernier, God rest his soul, and my son Scott walked up within 40 yards of a giant buck. And we were flanking each other. We were 50, 60 yards apart, and all 3 of us saw that buck. There's 3 grown men. I'm 250. Scott's 225. Dick Bernier was like 185, 190. There's 3 grown men walking in the woods in noisy conditions, sounding like deer, and the deer held. And all three of us saw the buck, and Scott took a picture of it.
That's what I mean about learning to walk in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
It's an art to learn to walk, not to walk like man. And there's, lots of, do not shoot that damn thing off a bench.
No.
That's the sight in your gun.
That's right.
That ain't to shoot. If you'd only shoot on a bench, we ain't got benches in the woods.
Mr. Deer, hold one, please.
Yeah,
I
let
gotta
me get my
you
bench.
gotta get it.
and step into it like you're hitting a baseball.
Right.
When you shoot, step into it. Right front foot forward. Step into it. I was on a learn to track and stock hunt with a guy the second week from Pennsylvania. Great guy. Again, told me it's noisy conditions. We're never going to walk up on a deer. We walked up within 25 yards on a real nice 8-pointer. Me and him together. Right? I said, his name was Hoyt. I said, Hoyt, there he is, shoot him. Unfortunately, he was like this.
Yeah.
Weight all on his back. He shot right over his back. He shot 3 more times at it as it's running through the woods, but he never cut a hair. But if he did that, he would have killed it.
It's like throwing a punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You throw a punch on the back of your feet.
Yeah.
You got there's
You
no
know
energy.
power.
Yeah.
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 Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And again, that's what happens when people shoot off a bench.
Randy, you had mentioned earlier though about it was a myth about always having the wind in your face. Could you elaborate on that? What you mean?
Be happy to. Be happy to. when you got the wind in your face. Now, first of all right, so you're doing the 4 steps, 3 steps, 2 steps level, depending on the condition, all right? And the wind's coming in your face, which is what most people say to do, all right? And the wind's coming here, and you're doing the 4 steps,
And that's
3
ostensibly they can't smell you
Right.
because the wind is
Wind's
blowing.
coming here.
Right.
all right? And you jump a buck. He's going to run 75 to 175, 250, maybe 275 yards at the most. Where's he going to go? You can't answer this. Neither can you. Where's he going to go?
Upwind.
He's going downwind. He wants. He may not start out that way, but he's going to go downwind because he wants to smell you. So he's going to want it because the wind's coming this way. So as you continue, I tell this in every seminar I do. So as you continue to walk, looking for that buck that you jumped just a little while ago, before too long, he's going to be standing behind you, watching you walk away from him. And if you listen real closely and pay real close attention, you'll hear him laughing at you.
And if you don't think so, you follow his track.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
How many times?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So if you cross-cut the wind, same case scenario, all right? You cross-cut the wind. The wind's hitting you here. Just say here. You jump that same buck. Now, mind you, I'll shoot him right there. Right there. If he jumps up in front of me, I'm giving it to him.
Right.
Okay? But if I can't, I'm going to run on a 45-degree angle, 100, 125 yards. I'm not going to run right with the wind. I'm going to run on a 45-degree angle. He's still going to run 75 to 175, 250, 275 yards, and he's going to swing to the downwind side. So when I run 100, 125 yards, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to stand. I'm going to drop to one knee like this. And I'll wait 20 minutes, half hour, and you'll hear him. And when you see that deer, he's going to be looking over like this to where you jumped him, and you're off to the side waiting for him.
Huh.
Make sense?
Sure does.
See, he can't hear him running while he's running.
That's exactly right.
So if you wait, then he's going to hear you run.
My kid shot more nice deer. I've taught a lot of guys over the years to shoot a lot of deer who've never sat in a tree stand in their life using these skills. It's the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you had to put food on the table to feed your family. You couldn't afford to sit and wait for them to come to you. You had to go after them.
Right. It was about putting food on the table.
Absolutely.
Not in the freezer.
Absolutely.
It was putting it on the table.
Absolutely.
Years ago, we didn't put food plots out.
Right.
That's right.
You can do it. Now they want to sit there. They want to put a heater
There was
in,
no
wait
such
for him
thing.
to
There was
come
no
and eat.
such thing as a food plot.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having
Randy,
me.
yeah, absolute wonderful.
Well,
Fun.
no, it was wonderful to spend some
Yeah.
time with you guys.
Yeah. No,
Great.
really appreciate it. Again, it's Wilderness Escape. It's in Danforth, Maine.
Yep.
A great friend of the program. Bob and Randy collaborate on things. There have been times we've swapped people and sent
yeah.
people your way. You've been so supportive. I can't thank you enough for that. And
My pleasure.
just really excited to hear about your speaking tour that you go on in the winter months.
Appreciate
and
that.
how well it's going for you. So Randy, thanks. It's been a pleasure having you.
Oh, my pleasure.
And we'll be back in a few minutes.
Maine Knows How is brought to you by Modern Woodmen of America, a member-owned fraternal financial services organization since 1883. And by Pine Grove Programs, supporting veterans, first responders, and law enforcement by providing free outdoor opportunities to those who serve, have served, and their families.
Welcome back to Maine Knows How. We hope you enjoyed the time we just had with Randy, but now it's how-to time that Wyatt usually handles. But we're going to turn it over to Jeffsky this month. What do you got for us, Jeff?
Let's go back to some coyote hunting. A lot of guys think they can sit in the shack and that's all they need to do. They can sit in there and make noise, turn on their lights, turn on their phones. the biggest thing that I can tell you is to go get yourself some blackout curtains.
Mm.
Take your gun, cut a hole so that your gun will go through, so your light will go through and your scope will go through. Put that on the inside of your shack. Have your gun set, hopefully in a bog or something that'll hold it and support it. And then black out all the rest of your windows. And make sure that there's no external light, no internal light going outside. Because when you turn on the heater or you turn on your phone because your girlfriend's messaging you,
Yeah.
it lights up the world. So the best thing is to go get, and even if you're hunting in our shacks, I recommend you bring your own blackout curtains in them. And basically that's tip of the week, the week or the month or the year.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
No, because I mean those coyotes, the light, the flash of blue light or anything.
Any light. You know, even guys turn their lights on their guns with the red light. That we use dimmers on ours because it knocks down that sudden shock of a light coming on.
Right. That's a good idea.
You can bring your light up slow on them. But your biggest enemy, the biggest enemy to coyote hunting is the light inside them shacks.
And they'll pass up a bait. I mean, they're hungry.
No,
it's winter.
Once they've got that shack and they know somebody's been in there, they'll circle right around that. They'll check it. They're not going to walk right into that bait and go, "Oh, hey, dinner's here."
Right.
It's just we've learned.
Yep.
And like Bob said earlier, that's why we have the missing shack. That's why it's called the missing shack, because somebody has just really educated those coyotes.
Yep. You know, it's that light discipline is so important. And
cell phone is the biggest. The cell phone is the biggest enemy to anybody that's hunting in the dark.
Yeah. My analogy is smoking. Have you ever been in the woods and you?
Oh yeah, you can smell it.
Somebody's smoking a cigarette.
You can smell it.
Smell it. The coyotes must have that reaction to the light.
Yep.
You know, it's just that way.
That's how they survive.
Well, that's great, Jeff. Thank you very much. And now it's your favorite time of the month and of the show to introduce Bob for his story of the month.
Bob's story of the month. Let's see what he's got.
Well, this is February, right?
It's February.
All right. And we're full going rabbit hunting.
It's cold.
Okay? I'm a rabbit hunter. I'm a deer hunter, a rabbit hunter, and a fisherman. So I'm going to tell you a story about rabbit hunting. Because there's a lot of rabbit hunters out there, and they don't get a whole lot of attention, but, you know, it takes a lot of work to train a rabbit dog. It's not easy. People think that, oh, I want to buy a dog and go rabbit hunting. Well, it takes a long time to teach them to come back, to hunt only hares when there's so many other animals in the woods. And you only want him to chase microscopic scent of a snowshoe hare that's been on trail after trail and they're going all over the place. And you have a lot of time and work in this dog. In this instance, I was running 2 dogs just out back. And we weren't hunting this time, but we have to run the dogs to keep them in shape. And we don't shoot the rabbits around the lodge because I can run right here. And we're running away and I can hear them. I'm working outside and doing stuff. And then an hour goes by and I hear them. They all have GPS tracking equipment. But this incident was before we had that. We had just bear dog tracking equipment, which you had a big antenna in a box. Beep, beep,
Oh my
beep.
gosh.
And you'd turn it down, you'd put it on your ear, try to make sure, because you'd get bounce backs from the mountains and stuff. And geez, I haven't heard those dogs for a while. We better ring them. Could barely get a ring. Holy moly, they're a long ways away. I better go find them. So I get in the truck and I drive down the road. No, can't get them here. Drive up the road. No. I go back here. Beep, beep, very little. Now I'm putting the machine on my ear, turning it up, and turning that antenna in a certain direction. I get just a little beep on one collar. Somebody had to pick these dogs up. There ain't no way they're gone that far. So I'm looking, and I'm like, finally nothing. So I go out back, and I'm walking around out there. Somebody must have put them in a house, or picked them up and brought them in the barn, or they got in the garage or something, and it's blocking the. So I'm going to the neighbors, and couldn't find them. Finally, I go back into the woods, and I'm walking around, and get a little better reading. And I'm going along, and I get to the stream between here and the other side, and I'm getting a reading, but the reading is under the snow. I'm saying, son of a biscuit. So I walk down along the edge of the stream, and I could walk right out on the stream, and I'm pointing right down in the stream. Beep, 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 beep.
Well,
I said, what the hell? So I'm looking, I go back up the stream, I find a hole where they went across the stream and broke through. Both of them broke through, and the current sucked them underneath the ice. Never seen them dogs again, and never got that equipment back. But I sent these pictures that I took. I filmed all this, and I could see where they were fighting to get out of that current and get back on, and finally the current just sucked them underneath.
they're cold.
Yep.
Cold.
Yep.
Just-
So you have to pay attention to what's going on, even though you have this equipment. Stuff happens in the woods.
Yep.
And so it was a shame to lose all that work in them dogs, but
Yeah.
it's just part of the lessons of rabbit hunting. So
Yep. It's a challenge.
all these kids starting out, there's lots of things that happen, and when I do a seminar, I show people all these different things where I've lost dogs or had dogs trapped and stuff like that. So
Yep.
that's my little story.
The story of the month.
Yep, I lost 2 good beagles and $400 on each dog with a tracking equipment in a hole in the ice, which I ran there for 20 years.
Never had that happen.
Never had that happen.
Wow.
So anyway, be cautious.
Be cautious.
Be cautious. Yep.
Indeed.
Yep.
Well, Bob, thanks. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I think we'll wrap it up, and we'll see you next month on Maine Knows How.
Maine brought to you by A&G Shooting, Modern Woodmen of America, Mainly Handrails, Pine Grove Programs, and J.W. Parks Golf Course. Digital Spirit Media. Maine knows how.